Hey everyone, so a couple of people have requested for me to do a tutorial showing how to assemble the AABB Glock carbine conversion kit. I think in my last video I also said I was going to do a follow-up and actually show some shooting with it. I've actually modified mine to take a Glock 18C. The carbine kit by default will only take a Glock 17. As you can see on mine, I've basically dremelled and filed this whole section out here to make the selector switch accessible. I've also had to file out on the inside of the kit here to make room for that as the slide moves backwards and forwards on the inside. I wouldn't recommend anyone, make any modifications unless they're not 100% confident in what they're doing, because you could end up ruining your kit. Okay, so in my example here I'm using a Tokyo Marui Glock 18C. The steps that you need to do on the 17 or even on the KSC should be exactly the same. The only modification you need to make to the pistol is you need to make sure that you knock out the trigger pin, which is this pin here. So you'll need a hammer and some sort of pin to knock it out. So now that the trigger pin's been removed from the Glock, we can take the carbine conversion kit. Assembly of the kit is fairly straightforward. I'm not going to dismantle it and put it back together to show you how to do that, because literally all it is putting a few screws together. You'll need to screw on the sling hook here. Just uses everything on this is Allen key screws, by the way. They're all Allen keys. So this goes on by 2 Allen key screws here. The kit doesn't come with any iron sights. These are a couple of Star HK 416 iron sights, I think, and the vertical grip is my own as well. The rails on the top, on the sides, bottom and top come with the kit, and again they're just Allen key screw at each end. And you can't see them on the top because they're underneath the iron sights. So once you've screwed those on, you need to put the handle onto the bolt, onto the charging bolt. You can screw it on to either side, so whether you're left or right-handed, you can put it on either side. It doesn't matter. See, there's a slit there, and that's an Allen key screw, which you can just put on the other side, and you'll need something tight to hold that on. Strongly recommend using thread lock on just about every screw on this thing. The kit has, you'll see these 2 Allen key screws here and the same on the other side here. They basically just connect this metal plate to the plastic body. That's where the pin is going to go through the trigger pin hole on the Glock. What I found with mine is that the first or second time I took it out, all of these screws fell out. Even though I tighten them with an Allen key, but yeah, they just come out really easily. So I'd just, every screw that's on there, take it off, put a bit of thread lock in, put it in. You probably might have a bit of difficulty doing this because obviously this is smooth and round. So when you're trying to screw the Allen key screw on the other side, after you've tightened it so much, this on the other side will just start turning with it. So what I had to do with mine is get a pair of snub nose pliers and just hold that tight while screwing that in on the other end. This screw here for the block, which sits behind the rear iron sights, that was already in place, but I found that after a few games it loosened up and it came down and started catching on top of the slide on the gun, which was causing jams. So I'd take that out, put some thread lock on and put it back together again as well. Another problem I had with my kit when I got it, I said in my first video that if I didn't rack the charging handle all the way back and then snap it, let go like that, it would basically come halfway forwards and would sometimes jam the gun a little bit, as the slide would have to sort of put force on it to pull it forwards. What I actually found out is that the spring this sits along a rod which goes inside the body here. The spring had actually slipped off the rod and gone halfway into the body, which is why I didn't have proper tension in there. So I had to take the whole body apart and put the spring back in place properly and put it back together again. Not something that is so easy to do. I wouldn't recommend anyone really try it unless they, unless they really have to, if they're having problems like I did. Because to do that, you basically you have to take every screw in the body apart. You have to take this one off, which was extremely difficult. Kind of bent mine in the process. Had to bend it back later. The screws for taking the body apart completely, there's one here and one here. This foam pad is very thin, it's only a couple of millimeters and it tears very easily, so you have to try and very carefully peel it away from the body just to be able to access the screws. And then I opened mine with the foam still in place. The pad on the end has to come off completely, otherwise you can't open the gun out. So again, I had to very carefully preserve that, and in the process in mine is actually sort of, I think mine's actually ripped ever so slightly in a couple of places, but it's only very minor and not noticeable, thankfully. Just got to hope the spring doesn't split again. I have a feeling that it might have just been put together badly when the kit was first assembled in China or wherever. Okay, so here we've got our Glock 18C in this case. So we just need to fit it into the body. And basically the gun will slide up from the bottom, but what you need to be aware of is that the groove in the side of the sort of rail mount on the underside of the Glock actually slots in to some rails on the inside on the bottom here. You can't, obviously, because the gun goes in at an angle, you can't really slide it necessarily that easily the first time. So what you might find is that when you put the gun in and you think it's actually in there straight, it might actually be pointing upwards at the front. So once you've got the gun in there, just slide it back and push it forwards while making sure the bottom is as low as possible, and you'll feel it sort of sliding along the rails. So once it's sat in the position, we need to start putting the pins through. The kit comes with this pin. And this pin, again, it has two Allen keys. Two Allen screws which sit on either end. You only ever need to take one off, and again, these get loosened quite easily. So what I would do is actually thread lock one on quite tightly so you can never get it off, and just very, very lightly on the other one so that it won't slip off during play. But you can still easily take it off and back on again if you ever want to take the gun out of the kit. And this is the tricky bit, getting this pin through the gun a little bit. There's a certain knack to it. Let's try it from the other side. Actually, I usually find it easier from the other side. So if we put the pin in, okay, so if you put the pin into the body, you just want to, you'll have to move the trigger pin up and about a bit. And I've found that with you also need to move the slide release. I found that you need to push that forwards, and if you push that forwards, making sure you're pushing the pin the whole time, that's it, that's now come up through. So yeah, you just need to make sure that the slide release catch is pushed forwards, and the trigger pin usually needs to be sort of up, try and move it up and forwards a little bit. So once you've got that pin pushed through, we can put the other end of the Allen key, we can put the other Allen screw in place. Okay. Okay, so on the kit, in the other side of the body, you'll be able to see there's a plate here that's basically threaded for a screw to go in. So on the other side, where you get this hole, you'll need to put another Allen key screw through there, and that will basically go through the groove on the rail on the underside of the Glock. I found that in doing this, it actually makes small grooves on the rail slot on the underside of the Glock itself, ever so slightly. You can't really just push it straight through because of that. It means you actually have to sort of lightly screw it through and it will create its own little thread on the underside of the Glock. Not very noticeable though, and if you always have like a flashlight on there or anything, you'll never notice it anyway. Okay, that's started to get to the bottom now, so it's tightening up now. Okay, that's tightened. You can see the screws come through into the block on the other side, and that's it. That's done. We've made the kit complete. Okay, so now that we've got the kit together, I'm just going to demonstrate. I've got a fully loaded Glock 18C 49 50 round Tokyo Marui extended mag. Other modifications I've made. This Marui Glock 18C also has an enhanced recoil spring in it, because I found that when in the kit, occasionally the slide wouldn't return properly, so I was getting sort of jams and I'd have to re-rack the gun in game. So I put an enhanced recoil spring in there just to make sure that the slide always comes forward properly. I haven't had any more issues with it since doing that, and the rate of fire on auto has greatly increased. The gas usage I found on the Marui is pretty bad. If you're on auto and you try and do a full auto burst, you won't really get more than, well, I don't know, not that many, probably about 10 rounds before it just sort of starts to splutter and really slow down. But I'll demonstrate. So on semi, quick burst on auto, and then if I hold it down, oh, actually, still got some in it. That did actually manage to polish off the whole mag. So as long as you stick to short bursts and stuff, it works brilliantly. But if you hold it down, you'll probably get through about a third, maybe half of the mag before it runs out of gas.